Hello, welcome back. Now let's create a Azure SQL DB, which is a cloud version of SQL Server. So let's see how we could create and configure Azure SQL DB. Now, in order to create any resource, we could use create resource, and you could search for the specific resource. Now we are going to create a database service. So we could select the category database, and you could see we have SQL. Let's click on the create. Now you could see there are three options. I'm going to use SQL database, but if you want to use SQL Server or your SQL database to migrate a cloud, to migrate your application from on-premise to cloud, you could go with the SQL managed instance. That will give some level of control. And if you want to create a database with the OS level access or administration capability, you could go with the SQL virtual machine. But I don't need those service or functionality. I just need a database service. So I'm going to use single database. And within the single database, we could create a elastic pool and database server that we will discuss later. I'm going to use single database. Let's click on create. Now we need to select some options like subscription and resource group. I'm going to create a new resource group, and I'm going to specify lab 1. We need to specify a name for our database, and you could specify any name, and there are some criteria. Now we need to specify our server, in which server are we going to use our database, and we don't have any database server, so I'm going to create one. Let's specify a name, and this name should be unique. So if you try with the step to see, sometime you won't be able to access it. Say for example, if you try with the test, someone might be using it. So let's try with the step to see DB, and we don't have access to East US. Let's try with some. I'm going to specify East Asia. I am going to use SQL authentication, and we need to specify one username and password. I'm going to specify demo as admin login, and I'm going to specify one password. Now they are asking whether you want to use elastic pool. No, we don't want to use it. This will be useful if you want to create a database or multiple database within a single server, so that you could share the compute infrastructure and storage infrastructure. So I don't want to use it. And this workload, I'm going to select development. Now we need to select the configuration. By default, SQL or Azure will select some configuration, but we don't need this one. We could select a very basic configuration, and I'm going to select basic for less demanding workload. And for 5 basic DTU, we could use up to 2 GB. And you could see the expected cost per month. Click apply. Now we need to select the backup storage redundancy. Now if you want to store your backup in multiple location, you could go with the zone redundant or geo zone redundant. I'm going with the very basic replication. Now let's go to networking, and I am allowing public endpoint. Now we need to allow whether you want to use or allow Azure service to access this database. Yes, I want to allow our Azure service to access this server, this database. Now you could disable it so that we will get error while trying to access it, and later we will see how we could configure it. Similarly, if you allow some IP address to access it, then only that will be able to, or that IP will be able to access our database. So this too we will update after some time. Let's go to security. Now I'm not making any change to this security settings. Let's go to additional settings, and I'm going to use a sample database. And if you select sample, the current configuration will change a little bit. Now let's go to tags. And if you want to specify any project specific tag, you could specify it. I am not going to specify any tag. Now, based on our current configuration, this much amount will be charged per month. We selected subscription, we specified resource group, we selected a location and a database name, and we specified a SQL authentication. Our server login name will be demo and the password we specified. Compute, we will be using 5 DTU and 2 GB storage. And for backup, we selected locally redundant backup. And we didn't allow any Azure service to access this database, or we didn't allow our IP address to access our database. And the rest of the configuration are default. So let's create this database. And our deployment has started. It may take a few minutes. And our deployment has been completed. Now click on Go to Resource. And you could see the overview about your database. Now in our next video, we will see how we could access our database. So that's all for this video. Thanks for watching.